Hello, everybody. This is Ballet Games, picking up where we left off in our Donkey Kong Bonanza video. Gonna go through and finish this level. Maybe rant some more about video game industry. Uh, this is where it's got like all sorts of tech and stuff that I'm sure I'm gonna have to learn along the way. I won't have to master, but it'll be there. I'm sure people have already uploaded clips of them cutting levels in half. Uh, oh yeah, I have to blow it up, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, I gotta go get that purple guy. Purple guy is who I need. That fell out of the sky. What was I? Oh, that's what I was getting off my video game soapbox. Pull the sword from the stone. The hair is clipping through its fingers, but at least it looks like hair. I don't know if you guys were ever Beyblade guys or kids, guys, girls, in-betweeners. Um, Everyone. I don't know if you guys were Beyblade people, but I have to smack all these guys. New Beyblade, Beyblade X, me and my girlfriend have had a blast with. Um, Oops. I don't want to use game chat. I grew up with the original series plastic gen. Yeah, I can whistle. I grew up with, Bakuten shoot era original plastic Beyblades were my first ones. We had I grew up in Texas and we were very we went to a semi-large church when I was growing up. Um Not giant, but probably like 2,000-ish people. I mean, that's probably too big. That does sound giant to me. I don't know. It was enough that they could have a building and childcare and like afford to break grounds on a new church, but it wasn't like it was a Joel Olstein level mega church. Anyways, I grew up in Texas in the early 2000s and part of a fairly large church, and so there's always, A, people are raised with at least when I was growing up, they were raised with a little bit more manners down in the southern parts. And I don't know, I feel like we have a lot of stereotypes about Southerners, but they're very decent people. Anyways, all that to say, that was how I would get a large portion of my goodies as kids. Like I had a big old shoebox of like original Bakuten shoot Beyblades, and that's how I got those from like just a 14-year-old or 15-year-old in the church who was, felt like he was too old for that stuff. And oh, you have a little nerdy 5-year-old kid? Does he like Beyblades? I'm getting rid of mine. Does he want my entire shoebox of G1 Pokemon cards? I'm getting too old for them. Does he? And the other part of that was I don't know how in depth I go here into my own personal life. I don't know, people care. But commentary is commentary, I guess. Um where my dad was in the army when I was younger, and we were in Texas, so it was where, my mom would be have all her friends and like again, community. It's that community everyone's looking for, but from being part of that, there's the youth group program that my parents eventually took part in. If you don't know what youth group is, it's basically church for teenagers. So, it was a village. It takes a village. There's a bunch of teenage boys and girls and dads and moms and um little bit of everyone contributed, but especially more so because um my parents were young and my dad was, overseas. So that was kind of the community that my mother fell into. And then it was just part of our upbringing. But that's what was cool about it, just hanging out with a bunch of older kids all the time and them actually being nice and not. I feel like these days, everyone's irritated all the time. I don't really know if teenagers, I'm sure it's still a thing where teenagers are still like, you know, being nice to kids and including them, and the world hasn't gone to shit. Stuff like that still happens, but the culture just feels much more everyone's either scared or scared to ask or scared to, reach out and help. To where it's like, no, that's scary. I don't want to deal with that person. I'll figure it out or I won't do it. And then on the other end, no, what if you know, what if they think I'm a creep? Like, just leave them be. I'm sure they're fine. But anyways, all that to say, that's how I got a bunch of stuff. Like, that's how I figured out how to get through Zelda. Phantom Hourglass was through like youth group teenager kids, and that's how I got my Bakugans and Beyblades and Pokemon cards, hand-me-downs like that. But that was my original start with Beyblades. I got a big ol' new to me shoebox full of them, and then I think I continued on the tradition and ended up giving them away to someone else when we moved. I wish I would have kept them. But then from there, we went on to the Metal Saga, and that's when my little brother would watch like the morning cartoons and it would be on. And Pegasus and Medio El Drago and all of those. That was the next generation of that. And then we fell out of that towards the end, much like I'm sure everyone else did. For the unaware, what happened was these would come out in Japan like a year ahead of time, right? And then it would take a whole year for them to come over to America. So Metal Fight was done in Japan pretty much by the time it was airing and they were making products for it over in America, to where that kind of died out. And then Burst was the next one after that, which we were like didn't get into at all. And now that the gimmick for Burst, Metal Fight, obviously the gimmick is their metal, and then Burst, the gimmick is they bring like the plastic pieces back and they burst apart now after they take too many hits. Take it or leave it. Shoot. I wasn't particularly fond of it. But now we are in the we've gone from Burst to Beyblade X is what it is right now. Extreme is what it's known as. And it basically has like a zipper rail around the front or around the little arena you spin the metal tops in. That works like a gear. Like the tops then have little plastic, they're called ratchets, and they have spikes on them. Or bits. The bits are the ones that have the spikes on them. And it basically works like a gear or like a clock, to where the plastic, spikes on the tip of the top will catch on the rail and it'll like send it through even faster. And that's the current gimmick they're on right now, Beyblade X. So I've got my girlfriend pretty hooked into that. We have pretty much all of them. I just got the newest Meteo or Meteor Dragoon, which is their take on Dragoon and from Metal Fight, or El Drago from Metal Fight, and then Dragoon from the original Bakuten Shoot series. Uh, that's how that's done. But all that to say, Beyblade X has been really fun to get back into, to where the plastic ones weren't really there for me, but now it's got like a new level to it where it's got the extreme dashes, so they'll all shoot around even faster. But then on top of that, you still have the kind of customizability and like ease of use from the metal fight, where you could take, all the parts are completely interchangeable with the rest of the parts. and there's no problem where it's been out for 8 years, so there's a possibility you could buy one at a store that isn't, you know, doesn't have extra parts like that, and then you could buy one in the store that does have extra parts, and they don't necessarily, they're not necessarily compatible. So far, all of Beyblade X has pretty much been compatible with each other, which I think is smart. But I've been having fun with that. I need Aero Pegasus. Aero Pegasus is like $100 because you have to import them from Japan because they haven't released them for real. But I have Pegasus Blast and the 25th anniversary remake of Pegasus, and I got my Dragoons, bunch of cool stuff. But if you remember Beyblade back in the day, and I thoroughly recommend checking it out again. Been having a lot of fun with it. Where are we at on time? 16 minutes? We will get to the top of this regardless of how long it takes before we call it for the day. I want to get out and get to a good spot to stop. Almost to the top. Okay. Okay. So I think this is probably the boss for this level. And I know there's a ton of stuff to do in between um all of this. It's kind of like Mario Odyssey in that way, where it has a boss and a path that wants you to cut through, but then there's also like the entire level you can actually explore. Um, I like, I like that. I do. I appreciate it's there if you want it. It's not there if you don't want it. Um, some people might complain. They wish it was a bit more forced upon you. But to me, that's the mistake between games where like they force you to go explore or they force you to do this. They don't let you do either or both at your leisure. To where I think that's a mistake that's become more common as games have gone bigger. Okay, there you have it. I think this is where we will be wrapping it up after I dive in after the bananas. Perfect. Made it through the title intro. You guys know the drill as we wrap up here. I don't I don't have to spout it off, but maybe I should. Not going to, though. Well, bananas. Ooh, we got our first skill point. Punch power, jump shot, start collecting. Oh, I feel like we're gonna want jump shot. Uh, I don't really. There it is. I knew there's a little save spot somewhere. Trying to get to that. Alright, well, here we are. This has been Valet Games. You guys know the drill. I won't make you listen to it again. Thanks for tuning in. As always, let me know if you want to see more of this, and I'll try to meet demands. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, and catch you next time.